Hey guys, we're back. Somehow I ran out of storage. So anyway, this is broken up into two parts. So here we go. Let's get one more practice on rationalizing this kind of problem. That's what we did on the last problem. When we ended up with a radical in the denominator, we got rid of it by rationalizing the denominator. That's when you multiply numerator and denominator by that radical. Okay? So let's do one more example. These are the quick ones. These are the ones you hope to have, like this. So this is going to be split into two parts, radical 5 over radical 2. And because we have a radical in the denominator, we're going to multiply by that denominator, radical 2 over radical 2. And we get radical 10 divided by radical 2 times radical 2 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2, okay? But again, if you have radical 2 times radical 2, it's going to turn into that, okay? And hopefully the dryer behind me, the washing machine, is not too loud, because if I have to stop and record one more video, I think I'm going to lose my mind. All right, here is the worst kind, okay? This guy right here looks a lot different. Okay, here we have a radical 2, but it's also added to a 7, so we can't do the same trick. But we still have to do a trick nonetheless. The trick in this case is going to be by multiplying, actually just multiply by the conjugate which, if this is our denominator, 7 plus radical 2, the conjugate is going to be 7 minus radical 2, okay? So that's where we're at, and here's how you do it. 3 over 7 plus radical 2, okay? We're going to multiply top and bottom, numerator and denominator, by the conjugate of that. So 7 minus radical 2, 7 minus radical 2, okay? And I'm going to put parentheses around all these binomials. All right, so let's get going. This equals 3 times that is 21. 3 times that is minus 3 radical 2, okay? Divided by 7 times 7 is 49, okay? 7 times negative radical 2 is negative 7 radical 2. Positive radical 2 times 7 is plus 7 radical 2. And then positive radical 2 times negative radical 2, well, positive times negative is negative. Radical 2 times radical 2 is just 2, so we get minus 2. Okay? Now, if you notice carefully, if you look, this negative 7 radical 2 cancels with this positive 7 radical 2. And we end up with 21 minus 3 radical 2 over 49 minus 2 is 47. Okay? Let's do one more of those. Let's do another one of those. How about 4 over radical 5 minus 1? All right. Here we go. We're going to multiply by the conjugate of this. So we're going to multiply by radical 5 plus 1. Radical 5 plus 1. Put parentheses around everything. 4 times radical 5 is 4 radical 5. 4 times 1 is plus 4. Divided by radical 5 times radical 5 is 5. Okay? This times this is plus radical 5. This times this is minus radical 5. They cancel. So now just go negative 1 times 1 is minus 1. And we get 4. Now notice both of these have a 4 in it, right? So I'm going to go 4 parentheses. I'm going to change it back to this. Sometimes you do that. Watch. Radical 5 plus 1, and I'll show you why. Over 5 minus 1 is 4. Notice that? Because this ended up with a 4, I put it back to this because now I get to cancel this. And I'm just left with radical 5 plus 1. That's my final answer right there. Okay? All right, and let's do one more part, solving equations. That's what this whole lesson was supposed to be about. Solve equations. And remember, 2 answers. and you'll see why in a second. All right, let's do a couple examples. Three x squared plus 5 equals 41. All right. So first thing I want to do is move the 5 over to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 5. So 3x squared minus the 5, so that's going to give me equals 36. Then I'll divide by 3. So x squared equals 36 divided by 3 is 12. Okay. And now all you have to do to get that x squared, to solve for x squared, you're just going to take the square root on both sides. Okay. I think that's the name of these. Yep. Solving equations by finding square roots, or by taking square roots. Okay, so that's where we're at. I'm going to take the square root on both sides, so x squared, take the square root, equals 12, take the square root. Now this is what you have to remember. Every time you take the square root of both sides, you're going to have to put a plus and minus right there. Okay? So here you go. The square root of x squared is just x. That equals plus or minus. Now the square root of 12 turns into the square root of 4 times 3. Okay, and if you remember at the very start of our notes, the square root of 4 times 3 just turns into 2 radical 3. So, x equals plus or minus 2 radical 3. Alright, let's do a more challenging one. Example. We have 3 parentheses x minus 2 squared equals 42. Alright, so what you want to do in this case is do not start distributing, because this is squared. You do not distribute the 3 to there and the 3 to there. Do not do that, okay? If that square was not there, if it looked just like that, then okay, yeah, you can do that. But because there's a square, please, please, please do not do that. We're going to divide by 3, okay? So we get x minus 2 squared equals 42 divided by 3 is, I think, 14, isn't it? Okay. All right, so here we go. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So now x minus 2 squared equals 14. I'm going to take the square root on both sides. Remember, every time you take the square root, you have to put a plus and a minus, okay? Now the square root of something squared is just whatever that is without the square. So this is x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 14. Now the square root of 14 can be broken down into 7 times 2. Neither one of those are perfect squares, so it doesn't do you any good to break that down. So all you have to do now is just add the 2 to the other side. X equals 2 plus or minus square root of 14. Okay? And we're done. That's all that I have for you today. If you have any questions, just email me. All right, bye-bye.